Tuwila Maniputnik, Tuwila Wakanapadnik. Minyana na Manipuriji, no Nari Kamatpi Maraja, no Wangadi Maniputni, Ganiyatana, here in the Yatta, Uniasa Cook. Hello and welcome. We call upon the spirits of my ancestors to be here with us today. My name is Mickey O'Brien. I'm a descendant of the Kaurna people, known as the Impatient One. And today I want to share in some of our stories. And I'm going to do that not only by talking about them, but in some ways demonstrating some of those aspects. Because our people have been here for thousands of years, and learning is all about that. And just like I've done a welcome, hello is very important because our face tells us where we've been, but our heart tells us where to go. And so one of the first stories I would love to share with you is really the story that where two cultures came together, which is really about the colonising of this country and particularly South Australia. And so to do that, I'm going to demonstrate by using a flag that we should all recognise, because not only is it spread across many nations, but it's embedded in our nation. And this is the British flag. The British flag itself is made up of three nations. It's also made up of three saints. So we have St. George, St. Andrew and St. Patrick being the places of England, being the places of Scotland, and also being the place of Northern Ireland. And so using this particular flag, I want to demonstrate to you and tell you some of our history, the history of this nation, because a gentleman came some 250 years ago to find this land and was given this understanding that he discovered this nation, and he wore a funny hat, a hat similar to this one, and his name was Captain James Cook. But did he discover Australia? Well, let's find out. Because some years later, another gentleman came. He wore a different hat, and his name was Matthew Flinders. And Matthew Flinders himself mapped out the coastlines of Australia, but he also named Australis being Australia, meaning the southern land. And he wore a different hat, a hat similar to this one. But as we know, what followed after Captain Cook's visit, also Matthew Flinders mapping out of Australia, was people came. And how did those people came? Well, as we know, they came in boats, similar to this one. But what was interesting, when those people came in those boats, they did two things. One, they liked to take the flag off of their mast of the boat, and they took it off and to put it upon the land to mark this land to be a land of their nation that they came from. But what was really more important was, what was the flag of the nation of the people they really found on here was a different flag, a flag that we know today as being this flag, the Aboriginal flag. And this flag was a significant flag. So did really Captain Cook discover this nation? No. The Aboriginal people themselves discovered Captain Cook. And one of the things that our people have always done is we've always welcomed people to our nation for thousands of years. And how do we know that? Because like our flag, it symbolised many things. But when we extend our hand through, we can say Nina Mani, hello and welcome. And it is a pleasure to welcome you to my nation. And so when we look at just even that particular demonstration of hearing our history, we can take that a little bit further, because that flag that I showed you was made up of three colours. And those three colours being the black being the Aboriginal people themselves, representing them. Then we saw in that flag another colour being red, red being the land that we walk upon, because the land itself is very important, because the land is the oldest thing in the world. It has all the knowledge and the wisdom of our people. And so therefore when you walk the land, it connects with you. And therefore you are a part of that land. And so our people understood those connections and those values and put the land itself first. And so that was really important. But we saw another colour, didn't we? So when we saw those marrying of those colours coming together, of the black and the red, but there was another colour, and that's the colour of yellow, being the sun, the giver of life and hope. And because what that means is when we come together as people, we do have hope. We do have a hope that this nation is a nation where cultures bring us together and should never divide us. A nation that really in itself appreciates and understands the oldest living culture in the world and values it for what it can give us, not only for its past, not only for its present, but also for its future. And when we recognise and understand the land that we stand upon, we truly have those greater connections. And so I encourage you all to further research, further understand and further connect with that culture, as well as the learning that you've come here to do at this beautiful place being the University of South Australia. And so when we talk about these learnings and these understandings of the beginning, our people would test our people about their learning. And this one particular story that I'll share with you is a story of learning. It's about gathering that great knowledge that we all can have if we take the time. And so this young particular person went to one of the great elders and said he wanted to become a great leader of our people. And so he sent him on a journey. He sent him on a journey to the tallest mountain. And he said, you have 4 days to get there. And in that 4 days, I will meet you on the 5th day. And so he went on this journey. And the great elder gave him a kangaroo skin bag with some items in it. And he told him to take this with him. So as he climbed this mountain, on the first day of climbing this mountain, he was frightened by a noise that he had heard. And so he ran down that mountain. On the second day of climbing this mountain, he all of a sudden saw something, a large object running straight towards him, which chased him down that mountain, therefore not reaching the top of the mountain. On that third day of climbing that mountain, it was a hot day. He became thirsty, and so he went in search of water, and he found water. On the 4th day, the final day of climbing that mountain, he was hungry, and he knew that food was important, and so he saw a tanda, a kangaroo, and so he caught that kangaroo and he ate that kangaroo. So on the 5th day, he sat at the bottom of that mountain where the great elder had met him. And the great elder had sat beside him, and he could see that he was saddened in his face, and he said to him, why are you saddened, son? And he said, great elder, I never reached the top of that mountain, and therefore I can't become the great leader that you expected me to be. He said, son, tell me what had happened, but I want you to tell me by reaching into your bag and taking out an object. And so he reached into his bag and he took out an object, and it was a stone that in some ways depicted that first day. He said, I heard something in the bushes. It was a snake. It frightened me and it chased me down the mountain. And so he pulled out the stone and it had an image of an ear. And he said, we have to have great listening skills, not only to hear the dangers and the things around us, but to hear the words of the people that are saying those things. And so we have to understand that, to know what to do with those words. He said, what happened on that second day? He said, on that second day of climbing that mountain, I saw something running at me. And it was a great big parenti. And so he pulled out another stone, and on it was an image of an eye. He said, in life we have to have great vision, not only to see and understand our past, but to know our present, but to know which direction we need to go in the future, but also to avoid those obstacles that sometimes challenges us. And so great vision is a great thing to have, because our people were tested on their vision, and they had 4 times the level of vision that the average person had today. And so what happened on that third day? He said, well, great elder, I became thirsty. And so I had to search for water. And so he pulled out another rock, and on that rock was the image of water, a symbol of water. And what it told him, he said, in life we do need water because it is 70% of us and it gives us life. But it also is a metaphor, it's saying that in life we need to search for things. We need to search and to look all over because no one person holds all the knowledge and wisdom in the world. It is shared, and therefore sometimes we have to find it. And so it's important to know your country, to know your land, to know those areas of importance and to protect them. And finally, he said, what happened on the fourth day? He said, well, great elder, I pulled out this rock and it shows a tanda being a kangaroo. And he said, I had to find food and I killed this kangaroo and for food. And he said, in life, we have to have that hunger, a hunger and a passion, not only to feed us, but to feed other people, to share with that knowledge and wisdom that we can gain so that we can continue to have this knowledge and wisdom for our people and our generations to come. And so he said to the young person, he said, the aim wasn't really to get to the top of the mountain. The aim is that we need to take the journey. When we take the journey, we can learn so much more. Yes, reaching the top of the mountain is also important because some of us will reach the top of the mountain and we should applaud those people. But the main thing is that we should take that journey. So I applaud you all to take that journey of discovery, of listening, of observing and feeding and having that passion, but to share it with others as you go about your learning, particularly in coming to the University of South Australia. So I want to also share with you another story, a story which is called The Three Smokes. It was an important story that we told our people, and stories were important because it was a way of retaining this information. And so the Three Smokes represents a signal of what? Well, it was a signal of invitation. Because if we lit two smokes, we would be saying that we're in danger and we need help. If you saw one smoke rising in the air, it would obviously probably mean that somebody was having a comfort fire or cooking or just heating and sharing in a cold winter's day. So why were these three smokes lit? Why were people being invited to this nation, particularly the Kaurna nation? Well, our people were fishermen because we live along the coast here and we caught a lot of fish. And our people believe strongly in never wasting things. And so what they did was they lit the three fires, inviting those outlying families to come and share in this fish. And so they came. They came to share in that fish. But more people came than they had fish. So what did they do? Well, our people were clever people. What they would do was would grab one of those fish, wrap it up into some bark and send it off into the ocean. That fish would round up more fish, bring it to the shore, and therefore they would go into the shore and gather up all of that fish, therefore feeding more people. So what had happened again was more people came. So again, they grabbed another fish, they wrapped it up into some bark, they sent it off into the ocean, therefore bringing back more fish, therefore able to feeding more people. On the third occasion, they needed more fish again, and so they sent even a bigger fish into the ocean. They sent it off, and as they went to the water's edge to gather up that fish, they went, "Budger, budger! Get back, back, back! Be afraid, be afraid!" Because what was at that water's edge wasn't just any fish, but a shark. So what does that story tell us? Well, that story tells us a number of things. It says, be careful what you ask for, it may come back and bite you. But it also is saying that in life, we don't take everything. We take the things that we need, not the things that we want, and so therefore we must leave things for another day so that we can live and therefore we can share. And so it was a really important story of really taking what you need, not what you want, and sharing. So there are some great stories of great learnings and great education of our people. And they were all important stories. And so now I'm going to invite a couple of participants to share in a final story, an important story. And so I invite Liz and Christina to come in, because in this particular story, it's a story of using string. Why string? Well, this string isn't just string. Yes, we use string for many things, to do play, but it also was a tool of education. So I welcome Liz and Christine to come in, and they're going to be joining in with me and learning. So when we take string and we just look at it as a piece of string, and these string are exactly the same, there's nothing special about these string, but what's really important about this string and this particular demonstration is this is a demonstration of listening, great listening skills, great observation eyes, but more importantly, great doing hands, because our people believe those were the three key elements of understanding knowledge and wisdom. And so to do that, we're going to test their ability to watch, to listen, and to do. So before we start this demonstration, I encourage you all to get a piece of string. It's just a piece of string, and if you look at it, and the way to measure it is if we put it over our head, and probably it's at the length of our arms. So if you get a string, make a loop, tie a knot in it, then just like this, then we can all have an opportunity to actually be invited to be included in this demonstration. So the first step is to place that string over our heads. Now the instructions are, and I will tell you them twice, is that we're going to cross the string in our mouth twice, then we're going to actually lift the string over our heads, then we're going to clap our hands, and amazingly, if we've listened and we've watched and we've done, the string will actually pass through our neck. So to begin, let's grab the string, cross it in our mouth once, twice, over our head, clap our hands. Come on, Christine. Clap our hands and pull the string through. And sadly, we've got one that's failed, one didn't really try, and obviously I succeeded. So we have three opportunities to do this particular exercise. So the next step is we put the string on our thumbs just like this, and we wanted the string to be at the back of the head. So then we take our right pinky, being your left pinky, taking your right pinky, pull it over to the left-hand side of the string and pull the string back to the right. We take our left pinky, coming over to the right, pulling the string back to the left. Now this one's a little bit harder because what we need to do in this particular exercise, we need to pull the string from the back of the neck to the front of the neck. And to do that, we need to take a deep breath, close our eyes, take a step forward. And if we've done it right, the string will pass through our neck. And so to do that, I'll get you to watch me first and then you will follow. So we go like this, and it'll go through, and your turn. Not quite, but nearly.
How? How are you doing this?
Well, it's because ideally that's where observation, listening and doing comes into it. So the final exercise is to take that string, make a loop in the middle, so just a loop in the middle of the string, which again we'll put some DNA on it by putting it in our mouth, getting our right finger, coming under the big loop, putting it into the little loop, and then we get the string on the left-hand side, we wrap it around the finger once, twice, put our finger on the muddler, being the nose. Do not take your finger off the nose, but allow the string to come from your mouth out and through the finger, just like that. Keeping your finger, and bad luck for you, Liz, and Christine, you're not keeping the finger on your nose, and sadly, we didn't get success with our two participants. Hopefully you have got success on your end of the camera. But if they were to succeed in those three simple exercises, we would have then given them further exercises, being when we can do things and using those great observations, we can do amazing things like this, where we can pass the string through our fingers. But if Liz, if you put your finger up and just hold it up like that, we can do this amazing things, and we can do that, whoops, and we can, oops, sorry, I've done that wrong. So we do that, and we do that, and then we can pull the string through the fingers. So what does that really teach us? It teaches us many things, because if we use those listening skills, those observation skills, and doing hands, we can't be stopped from learning, because we can use those skills by watching, as our people did, the landscapes, learning from the animals, but also learning and listening from those who they shared and came to our nation And they were important things. And like you coming to the University of South Australia, you've come to listen, you've come to observe, but hopefully when you leave, you've come to do something with that learning, with that knowledge and wisdom. So I wish you well in your journey of learning and listening and doing. I want to finally finish with a leaf ceremony. A leaf ceremony is a very important ceremony. And so I'm going to ask Liz to take a leaf from the gum leaves of these branches. I'm also going to ask Christine to take a gum leaf also. And I myself will take a leaf. And what I'll do with that leaf is I'll exchange it with Liz, and now I exchange it with Christine. And so I say these words, Nada Nadlu Kamanka Yara Kumanindi. What do those words mean? Well, it means today we can give, we can receive, but together we become one. And that's important. As I said during this, that no one person holds all the knowledge in the world. That knowledge and wisdom in the world is shared. And like this leaf, it's connected to the tree is connected to the land, and so therefore it has the knowledge and the wisdom of this land. And so therefore, not only have we now imparted and shared in that knowledge and wisdom of the land, but their DNA has now been put on that leaf. My DNA has been put on that leaf, and so therefore we have each shared in our knowledge and wisdom, and therefore the leaf becomes a reminder, not only the reminding us of the land and the wisdom it holds, but also the knowledge and wisdom that we've each other shared in by exchanging these leaves. So I ask you, when you come to the university, to think about sharing your knowledge and wisdom, to impart it with others, and to remember that it is about giving and receiving, and it is about us all coming together as one. Because that's what our people believed in, is that we're all one people, we're all on one land, one nation, and therefore we have one voice. So I leave you these words, Nachu Yukandaya, Nachu Yakandaya, Padnia Duwadu, which is saying we are all brothers and sisters. We do walk together in harmony. And when we understand that cultures bring us together, never divide us, we never say goodbye, we only ever say see you later, which is nakada. So I will say see you later. Nechaya being thank you. And I look forward to not only seeing you here, maybe in spirit, but also in the land. Nechaya, thank you.